miserable, this person doing this and person doing that. And it's just like, yeah, but at what point do you take any responsibility for how you feel about your marriage? In the words of Maya Angelou, if you are unhappy, fix it. Because you are the only one that can control your happiness. If you allow someone else to control your happiness, that is what? That's a sign of weakness. You're outsourcing your happiness. You're allowing other people to control how you feel. That is weakness. Even in our religion, the Prophet ﷺ said, the strong person is not the person that can throw someone to the ground. The strong person is who?
Who will walk away from a situation they're angry about.
The person who can control themselves when they're angry. There's anger is the emotion. The self-control comes from you. The person made you angry. You don't make yourself angry. The person made you angry. So if he said the person who can control himself when he's angry, he's alluding to what? That the person outside of you does not control you. They ignited the anger, but you controlled it. Control yourself when you're angry. That's called self-control, self-discipline. And anger, just like happiness, these are all emotions. These are all feelings that we are responsible for. Boom. People outsource their emotions and their feelings so they don't have to be responsible for them themselves. Absolutely. He made me mad. He made me angry. I'm riding home with my kids. They're in the back seat. Oh, Abby, can you tell this one to stop? This person called me stupid. This person said, my kids, they think stupid is like Daddy, he said the S word. And I'm like, what S word? It's like, he said stupid. Oh, okay. Okay. Right. The innocence of children, man, subhanAllah. And I said, well, are you stupid? No. Okay, so then why are you allowing him calling you stupid? So then what you need to do is what? You need to check him about disrespecting you. But stop allowing that to affect you. Are you stupid? No, I'm not stupid. So then why does that bother you? The only thing that should bother you about that is the disrespect. Not how it doesn't make me feel any type of way because I know that I'm not that. So knowledge of what will make you content in your marriage? And contentment in your marriage simply means that you arrive at a place where you come to the realization that this is where I want to be and this is who I want to be with. That's contentment. I'm not looking for anything else. I'm satisfied with who I'm married to and the marriage that I am in. That's contentment in your marriage. And some people, unfortunately, never arrive at that place. They're always looking for, I know a particular brother, polygyny is always an option. It doesn't matter where he is in his marriage, with however many wives. Anytime somebody comes to him and say, yo, you looking for another wife? He's always looking for another wife. Always. And, it just makes me think, like, do you ever have contentment? Are you ever satisfied? Discontentment is a disease, man. The Prophet ﷺ sought refuge min nafsin la tashba, from a soul that is never satisfied. That is a disease, man. And for the brothers that are listening here online, man, you have to arrive at a point in your life where you have some contentment. And it can't be when you hit 60, when your libido drops, significantly, and you have no more desire for sex. And now you're content. But until then, you're just like a ravenous wolf that will just, just take advantage of anything that, presents, an opportunity for you. I mean, like, we're not 16, It's an addiction. Yeah. So there are 3 levels of contentment in your marriage, and I'll just brief through those quickly. There's diving, surviving, and thriving. Diving, it means that you are receiving less than the bare minimum of what you require to have contentment in your marriage. This is the lowest end of the contentment spectrum, and some of the signs that the individual is drowning in their marriage. I want you guys to listen, and if the shoe fits, buy an outfit. Some of the signs that you are drowning in your marriage are, number 1, you feeling overwhelmed. You're hypersensitive to criticism. Nobody can say anything to you. Nobody can say anything about you. You're hypersensitive to criticism. You engage in unhealthy behaviors like watching porn or masturbating or looking at things that you have no business looking at, constantly loose eyeballing, other people, acting out of character, and being distant and cold, being overprotective of yourself, meaning your needs, selfish, and decreased playfulness and feeling stuck in your marriage. This is a sign that you are drowning in your marriage because you are not receiving the baseline, the bare minimum of what you need to have contentment. If you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, I go back to that a lot because and we have the same hierarchy in our religion as well, right? They're called the 5 basic needs that every Muslim has. What do they call in Arabic, Akil? Huh? The Khamsa Dururat. Right. So these are 5 basic necessities that we have in our religion. And these are the things that the religion of Islam came to preserve and protect. This is your life, your life, your wealth, your honor, your lineage, and what was the 5th one? Your religion, your deen. So if we look at it, we actually have, we can say Muhammad's, hierarchy of needs, or Islam's hierarchy of needs. We actually have that in our deen. But if you go back to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, that triangle, and then there's 5 levels. And at the top of that level is what? Self-actualization. That is when the person has reached the peak of their humanness and of their human experience, and they're able to thrive in life because all of the bottom tier needs are being met. The 3rd tier on that is what's love, right? You need to feel loved. You need to feel meaningful, right? I always have this conversation with my wife that I don't want to live. I was at a store the other morning and getting my smoothie, and there was an older Caucasian woman, and she's walking on a cane, and she's sitting down eating, and when she got up, she reached over and she asked my wife, "Hey, can your husband help me put my jacket on?" So I said, sure. So I grabbed the jacket, let her put her jacket on. And she was like, thank you. She had to be every bit about 96. And then she could have been 76 because we know that they age differently. That's just facts. But nonetheless, I looked at her and I said to my wife, I said, I don't want to live to be that age. I said, I know that might sound selfish. She's like, why would you say that? She's like, you don't want to see your grandkids? I said, yes, I want to see my grandchildren, my great-great-grandchildren, but not, I said, what I'm alluding to is that I don't ever want to feel meaningless, where I don't matter in life. Like I can't get up, I can't, if I can't hold my grandchildren or throw a ball with them and I can just sit there in my chair and just stare at them, I'm sorry, for me, that's a bit daunting. I always want to be meaningful. I think that you alluded to that earlier. Was it? Not you. It was Hassan's wife. That I want to be meaningful. I want to matter. I want to have some type of purpose in my life. And the moment I feel like I don't have that, then I don't want to be here. So if you feel like you are drowning in your marriage, that means that your bare minimum needs are not being met. Is there anyone that feels like that here? Full disclosure? Not now. There was a time, maybe. Okay. Uh-huh.
What's the difference between settle and contentment?
Zafira? What's the difference between settling and contentment? I mean, you can listen to the 2 words and you can see that there is a stark difference between the 2. Contentment is that I have the bare minimum of what I need. Settling, I believe, is that I don't have what I want. So I just settle for what I need because needs are not enough for you. There's needs and there's wants, right? We have needs and we have wants. The person who settles, they settle because they realize that I'm never going to get what I want. So I just settle for what I need because their needs are not enough for them. The person who is content, it's not about what they want, it's about what they need. And as long as they are getting the baseline of what they need, they're content with that. You see the difference? The person who settles, needs are not a factor, it's what they want. And because I can't get what I want, right? I can't marry the woman that I want, so I marry the woman, I marry the woman that I need by default. And this is why, they always say the good guy, he finishes last. Because the good guy is, the woman doesn't want you as a good guy when she's in her prime. Oh, this is real talk. The woman doesn't want you when she's in her prime because she thinks she can have any man she wants. Right? We say that. Women say that all the time. I can have any man I want. They're in, the Barbie doll phase. I'm pretty, I'm young, I don't have any kids, my body is great. I can have any man I want. They never say, I can have any man I need. Need doesn't come along until when, after all the men that you wanted, took advantage of you, abused you, abandoned you, and then you realize, I need to just go after the guy that I need. Yeah, that's a fact.
But what I also find when people say that they settle, in general, when I hear them say that, a lot of times they're not really settling. They don't believe they deserve more anyway. But saying I'm settling puts me on a bigger pedestal to say you should be lucky that you had me.
That's the other.
Feel good about themselves.
That's the other end of that. That's the gaslighting. So I make you believe that I'm settling for you so that, you raise me to this pedestal. And that is to make myself feel better about the decision that I made. Yeah. That's why she's the therapist. She went deeper than the surface level. The second level of contentment is surviving. Surviving means that you are receiving what is just above the baseline requirements to have contentment in your marriage. In this space, you can make basic emotional withdrawals from your marriage in order to attain personal goals. Some of the signs that you are surviving in your marriage are that you are optimistic about your marriage, meaning you're saying to yourself, I think this can work. You're optimistic about your marriage, which entails remaining hopeful that things will get better. You maintain an intimate connection. There's still some sexual activity going on. You desire to work towards improving your marriage. You show up at events like this. You express compassion, empathy, and respect, all of which show up in other areas of your lives outside of the marriage. Anybody here surviving? You're receiving just what is right above the baseline of what you need to have contentment. So if nobody raises their hand, then that means that all of you are at the thriving level. You're at the surviving level. You're receiving what is right above the baseline. You're hopeful. You're optimistic about your marriage. You're going through some tumultuous times, as marriages usually do, but you're still hopeful. There's still an intimate connection. There's still respect, amongst you. Things have transpired in the past that you're still working towards trying to get over, but there's hope. There's a light at the end of that tunnel. So only 2 people raise their hand. That means that everybody in here is at the 3rd level, and that's that you're thriving in your marriage. So let's listen to what thriving sounds like, and then I'll ask that question again. So thriving means that you are receiving most, if not all, of what you require in your marriage to be content. And you are able to reciprocate the same to your spouse in a manner that allows both of you to have the healthiest marital experience possible. One is able to make withdrawals from the marriage when needed, whether emotional or otherwise, and deposit it back with interest. This is the highest end of the contentment spectrum in marriage. And the husband and wife who manages to make it to this point in their marital experience becomes a power couple. So everybody in here is a power couple? I mean, at some level, we would all like to think that we are a power couple. Power couple doesn't mean that, she makes six figures, I make six figures. We live in a big house, in Long Island, and we drive, she drives a Benz, and, she has a Benz truck, and I drive, the S-Class, whatever. That's not a power couple. Because people who have all of that still cheat. Hence Jay-Z and Beyonce. People who have all of that still cheat. We're not looking for the Forbes 500 power couple. We're looking just the basic God's power couple. We are representatives of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We're looking for marital couples, on the basic level. Power couple on the basic level. Everybody here is a power couple? You're receiving 80 to 85% of what you need to be content in your marriage.
Earlier, I was kind of talking about it being a consumer society in a negative way. The positive end is you need to shop your spouse.
You need to what?
Shop your spouse. You need to get what you want.
Shop your spouse. Get what you want. Get what you want or get what you need?
You have to be honest about what you want and serve. They have to be honest about what they want to serve. And so as you keep achieving what you want, achieving your goals, you thrive, you have the synergy together, and it's a benefit. It also has to have the right perspective, meaning it's not a tit for tat or I need to take, but you see it has filling these obligations, making sure that all the pistons are going, everybody's happy, everything's productive.
Okay. So are you guys a power couple? Are you thriving?
Thriving, yes.
Okay.
I would say, I would offer this to everybody. One of the things I think that has really helped is just physical exercise. Getting regular physical exercise has a tremendous impact on your mind and your attitude and everything.
Drinking water and minding your business. Yep.
I wanted to add to that, in terms of, all the different stages that you mentioned, I think that if you're married long enough, it's cyclical, and you go through all of those stages at one point or another. Like, whenever I talk to people, I say instead of saying, oh, we had a good day, a bad day, we have good years and bad years, because we've been together for 22 years. So it's cyclical, it's not stagnant. You have to recognize where you are. If you're thriving, you show gratitude, you keep doing those things. But if you're not, if you're surviving, then you think, how do we get back to thriving? So, and that's okay. You have to accept that it's not always going to be one or the other. You just have to stay committed to that relationship and know that it's going to go through stages. You're going to lose parents. You may have something with your children. You may have something with the community.
I agree.
There's a lot of things that go on outside of the marriage that affects it, things that go on within the marriage that affects it. And it's okay. It's okay to be in that stage. You just have to stay optimistic and know that you can grow out of it. So I do think we're thriving now, and I'm grateful for that.
You feel confident because you've been through so many situations. You know what tool to use in that situation. So like you said earlier about recovering quickly. So, okay, this happens. We know the secret sauce now on that.
There you go. The secret sauce. Okay, Sister Suhaila and then Dominique.
Okay, so I have two questions. The first one, Sister Miriam touched on. She said her relationship went through each of these stages. But my question is, how do you move into the next stage? Like if you're diving, how do you start surviving? And then if you're surviving, how do you enter thriving? And then once you get to thriving, can you elaborate what it means that to make withdrawals from the marriage when needed, whether emotional or otherwise, and then deposit them back with interest?
Okay. So your first question was, how do you get from diving to thriving?
Yes.
Okay. So diving here again is first, I think is very important. When I do premarital counseling, I always tell the brother and the sister to separate your priorities and your preferences. Every priority is a preference, but not every preference is a priority. So you have to learn how to separate those two. Priorities are non-negotiables. These are things that you absolutely have to have in a marriage in order for you to, at the bare minimum level, be able to, cohabitate with this person or to be in the same space with this person. And for those of you who are not married, I want you to list 5 non-negotiables on your paper, 5 things that you will not negotiate with. And they have to be things that you control, not the other person. Meaning, if the other person doesn't give it to you, then you know that you have to make an exit. That's not, I'm not willing to, So you have to list your priorities and your preferences. If your priorities are being met, that's pretty much 80% of what you need. The other 20% is where you get to the thriving portion. All right? Well, no, that would actually be surviving, not diving. Diving is you're receiving less than. So that means that you need to make a hard and tough the adult decision, right? If you're the bare minimum of what you need in a marriage to be content are not being fulfilled, then you have to begin questioning whether or not this is the marriage for you. Because that means that your priorities are not even being prioritized by the other person.
But can you get from diving to surviving? Can you stay like this?
It all depends. It all depends on your level of willingness and, and that person's level of willingness to cooperate to get it to that place. But if you're the only one willing to get it to that place and you find that the other person is, content with giving you what is less than what you deserve, then you have to make a decision. Yeah.
Exiting the marriage may be a good choice, maybe the best choice.
Right. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it is.
Is this list material things or just like immaterial things as well?
What do you mean?
Like for the non-negotiables, the priorities and preferences?
It all depends on what is a priority. Everybody's priority is different. So for me, let me just say, if I were writing down my non-negotiables, one non-negotiable for me is disrespect. I'm not going to negotiate with that. Verbal disrespect, emotional disrespect. Yeah. That is a non-negotiable for me. That is something that I will see my way out the door and feel no way about it. Those are things you got to be cold with, because if you're willing to negotiate with a non-negotiable, then you're willing to do anything. That person will drag you halfway across the world, and you're basically a passenger in your own journey. They've taken the wheel, put you in the passenger seat in your own journey. No, I refuse. And just so you guys understand, especially for men, we don't necessarily care about love. I don't care if you love me. Because being married, we're going to go in and out of love multiple times. For men, for most men anyway, for me anyway, respect takes the place of love. That's my love. You want to show me that you love me, respect me. I don't need the lovey-dovey. I don't need that, cinematic view of love. I need respect. And what does respect look like? That means acknowledging my role and my position in the marriage as the leader of the household, as the leader of the marriage, not just the household, the leader of the marriage. And of course, that leadership role switches and, changes depending on circumstances and situation. My wife, there's certain things I let her lead on. I don't even get involved. But then there's certain things that she knows that, all right, that's his role. That's his forte. I'm gonna let him have that. And she doesn't challenge me on that. We need, as men, we need to feel like we're leaders. All right. So, and what did you say about thriving?
Me?
Yeah, your second
I
question.
was saying, the last part of it where you say to make.
Making deposits and withdrawals. So how do you make a withdrawal from it's something similar to what I think Hassan mentioned yesterday, or somebody mentioned, I forgot, where sometimes, or what's actually Zafira, sometimes you don't feel like 100%. She did say there's no 50-50. Sometimes you feel like I'm 40%. I need you to carry the 60 today. But tomorrow I may wake up feeling like 100 and you feel like, 10 or 20. And I have to be able to pour into you just as you poured into me. And that happens, depending on situations and circumstances. So you're making emotional withdrawals from the person. I need you right now in this moment. And then there's sometimes when you need me in that moment. And so we're withdrawing from the marriage, and then we're putting back into the marriage, sometimes with interest. Meaning it doesn't have to be exactly reciprocal. Like, because you gave me 40 yesterday, I got to give you 40 today. No, that it doesn't have to be exact. I can actually give you more if I have it to give, right? And the third thing that you need to have knowledge of in your marriage is how to achieve what you require. So knowing who you are, knowing what you require to have contentment in your marriage, and knowing how to achieve what you require to have contentment in your marriage. And what I mentioned here is that too often couples have the idea of what they believe is necessary for them to have contentment in their marriage, but they don't have the slightest idea of how to attain it. So it's important to be solution oriented. If you say, well, I'm feeling this way about my marriage, or I'm feeling that way about my marriage. Okay, so do you just sit with that emotion? Do you sit with that feeling and just let it fester and stew? Or do you start to figure out solutions to that? As I say to my kids, as I say to my families, don't come to me with a problem without a solution. Don't make me solve problems you came up with. That's not my responsibility. If you say we're not spending enough time together, okay, so what's the solution? You came up with the problem. So that if you bring me a problem and you don't bring me the solution, that means you're problem oriented, not solution oriented. That means that you took more time to think about the problem than you did to think about the solution. That's a liability in a marriage. Facts. Go back to the story of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. When he went to go visit Ismail, and Ismail's wife was there, and Ismail wasn't there, right? I'm jogging your memory. Right. What happened? The first time he came by, he never told her who he was. This is old head wisdom. He never told her who he was. He said, where's your husband? He said, oh, he's out working. How's your living conditions? Oh, we don't have this. We don't have that. He said, when your husband comes home, convey my greeting of salam and tell him to change his threshold. Ismail came home. As a man, he his spidey senses went off. Hey, did somebody stop by here today? Yes. Some old man. This is the respect level she has, right? Some old man stopped by here today asking where you was, and I told him you were at work, out working, providing. And he said, well, what else did he ask? He said, well, he asked about our living conditions. And I told him we didn't have this, we didn't have that. We're struggling here, struggling there. He said, well, then what advice did he leave you with? She said, he told me to tell you to change your threshold. What does that mean? He said, go home to your family, you're divorced. That was my father. Why did he tell her to go home? She was divorced. What did she do wrong?
She was complaining your business to a stranger.
That's number one. You're telling your business to a stranger. No, but they didn't live. I mean, they didn't have those type of fears and apprehensions that we have now. And even in certain environments now, you go to certain neighborhoods, like people leave their doors open, leave their cars unlocked. They don't have those type of apprehensions. That's survival mentality. Oh, you're telling your business to a complete stranger. But when you live life without those type of fears, you ever got on, and believe it or not, a lot of white people live like that. They don't have those type of apprehensions. If you ever been to the airport and got on a plane and sat next to a white person on the plane, they'll tell you their whole entire life story. You like, this person's spilling all these stuff and I'm a complete stranger, man. I sat next to this white lady one time and we're on, and I'm an introvert, so I usually pull out my computer or I'll pull out a book immediately because I don't want you to disturb me. I don't feel like talking. But she caught me before I got my stuff out of my bag. Hey, so, where are you from? I'm from Delaware. I was flying out of Philly, flying somewhere. And she was like, yeah, I'm from Michigan. And, I was doing this and I'm on my way here. And, and I was telling my son the other day because, and I'm just like, oh my God, this lady. And she's like, yeah, because, my husband and, we went here on our vacation and I'm just listening. I give you 3 uh-huhs and I tap out. I'm there physically, but mentally I'm somewhere else. And she's just telling all of her business. And I'm just like, I am a complete stranger. And the reason why they can do that is because they don't live on survival mode. They don't grow up in many of them don't grow up in environments like we do, where we have to be guarded about everything. How much money we have, where we've been. Think about the time as a man, you walk in the door, your wife asks you, well, where were you at? Are you all in my business? We get defensive very quickly. That's survival mode. And we have to learn how, and if you don't live in those environments now, you have to learn how to unlearn that behavior. Because survival mode manifests in many different ways. Yes, baby, how you doing? What do you need? Huh? You want water? Okay, go, mama. Mama got water. Go, go, go. You guys follow me? So this is why they feel comfortable sharing that, because they're not living on survival mode. We are traumatized people, so we're always on survival mode, man, whether we realize it or not. But I totally lost my train of thought. So knowing how to achieve or knowing how to attain what you require. All right. The last point is on page 7. I said, nothing breeds regret more than ignorance acknowledged at the end of your journey. The opposite of knowledge is ignorance. So if you go into a marriage ignorant of who you are, what you need, you just want to be married, you are going to suffer from regret at the end of that road. That's a fact. And as an adult, we have to live with that. We go to the second condition of La ilaha illallah, or the second law of a healthy marriage, is known as yaqeen, certainty. Certainty. Can someone read that first paragraph for me? Nice and loud.
Certainty is a basic requirement for any relationship, especially healthy marriages. It entails being emotionally assured that marriage is what you want, and more importantly, marriage to this particular person is what you want. If you are consistently engulfed by uncertainty in your marriage, you are likely not going to be in the emotional state to make the determination that this is where you want to be, and that he or she is who you really want to be with.
Meaning you will always be entertaining the thought of what if. When you are certain and you have arrived at the level of certainty in your marriage, that's basically you saying, I am certain that this marriage is where I want to be, and this person is who I'm certain I want to be married to. I have no doubts about that. And if you don't reach that level of certainty, the opposite of certainty is raib, is doubt. That means that you will always have this thought or this sense of what if. What if I would have married this person? Or what if I would have done this? Or what if I would have done that? And that, having those thoughts, entertaining those thoughts, will never allow you to become certain that this is where you want to be. And you'll always entertain the thought of what if, which also opens the door for shaitan. There are 3 C's. So on your scrap piece of paper, I want you to write the 3 C's of certainty: consistency, commitment, and compassion. There are 3 things that will help you arrive at certainty in your marriage. Number 1, consistency. And a lot of times you hear women say, well, I need consistency. The consistency that they're talking about is what? Meaning I need the person to keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. That's unrealistic. That's unrealistic. Sometimes as men, we forget. Sometimes we don't have it. Sometimes, circumstance, situations come up that, might be more important than what you needed in that moment. So the consistency is the part that I have a problem with. When women say, I need consistency, meaning I need my bills paid on the 1st every single month. Well, next 1st, I might not have it on the 1st. I might have it on the 15th. That's just the way that life is set up. There are no, what's the word I'm looking for? Consistencies or guarantees. Nothing. I mentioned that in the khutbah Friday. There are no guarantees in life. You are not guaranteed when you go back to work tomorrow that you have a job. If anything, COVID taught us that. That's what if COVID taught us anything, that's what it taught us. There are no guarantees. Life can change just like that. In the Quran, there's a verse where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Kullu yawmin huwa fi sha'n. Every day, Allah is managing, organizing, arranging the affairs of his creation. And today, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may have arranged something else for you than what you thought. One morning, about 3 months ago, I got up for Salatul Fajr like I usually do. And when I got to stand up, I couldn't stand up. I didn't get in an accident. Nothing happened. I woke up for Salatul Fajr, put my feet on the floor, and I tried to stand up, and I couldn't stand up. Just like that, whole situation changed. Come to find out, I had 3 herniated discs in my lower back. Made it worse. I laid on the floor trying to alleviate the pain, and I told my wife to step on my back. She steps on my back, and she herniated the disc, making it lean on my sciatic nerve, which is why you see me limping around here. It's not her fault. It's my fault. I went to my chiropractor. He was like, man, are you crazy? He said she could have injured you to the point where you could not walk anymore. You do not do that. He said, when you see people doing that, usually they're trained professionals who know what they're doing. And I'm like, well, here again, knowledge, knowing is half of the battle. But I never thought when I went to sleep that night that when I got up for Fajr that I wouldn't be able to get up. You can walk outside, go put your key in your car, start your car up, or push your button, and your car doesn't start. The starter failed, especially during this type of weather where it's changing, your starter fails, and you're like, oh man, I'm already late for work, and I'm starting my car, my starter won't start, my car won't start. There was a sister who was supposed to be here with us today. Unfortunately, she had to cancel. She was supposed to be here this weekend with us. She had to cancel because her car got impounded the day that she was supposed to come up here. There are no guarantees. Understand that. And the moment you begin thinking like that, you're able to handle with whatever life throws at you without losing it. So, 3 C's to having certainty in your marriage. Number 1, consistency. The consistency that I'm talking about here that is realistic is the consistency between your statements and your actions. Meaning you do what you say you're going to do. That's the consistency that we need in a marriage. That if you say you're going to do something, I need you to follow through on that. If you say when I leave out of the house that I'm going to clean the dishes, I'll have the house clean by the time you get home. When I come home, that's what I'm expecting. Because that's what you said. That was the word that you gave me. We need to see consistency between your statements and your actions. And this is something that Islam honors. Something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hates is that a person say what they do not do. Allah says in the Quran, what? Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu lima taqulu ma la taf'alun. Kabara maqtan inda Allahi an taqulu ma la taf'alun. O you who believe, why is it that you say what you don't do? Hateful in the sight of Allah is that you say what you don't do. There is nothing that makes a person arrive at a place of certainty that this is where I want to be and you are who I want to be with, like a person being consistent between their statements and actions. Why?